it dives straight in. You get the logo, and then we're painting.
The legs wouldn't go numb if you were watching this, where apparently most people watch YouTube.
On their legs.
Oh, right. Okay, I just got that.
Mini Matters, a miniature painting podcast.
Hi Mini Mates, welcome to another Mini Matters, and today we are joined by the fantastic Cult of Paint. We've got Andy and Henry. Hi guys.
All right.
We're going to have a little talk about what Cult of Paint are and what they do, and see what's happening in the future for these guys. Should we start off with a little bit of a kind of bit of background on Cult of Paint and what you guys do?
So would you like to take this one or me?
I don't know. I think we'll just talk over each other. So,
yeah, you'll be in good company,
isn't it?
Well, you should get one of us to do
the
it.
spiel we do at class and stuff. So I guess Cult of Paint's been going, 2 and a bit? 3 years this autumn, I think it is.
Yeah.
Me and Andy have known each other, I don't know, six years, something like that. We've been teaching together for 5 or 6 years as well. And yeah, we had a chat. We both thought we quite fancy doing this sort of full-time or professionally, or however you want to word it. And we'd also spoke about this desire to do a miniatures range. And it all started from there, really. And now, a couple of years down the line, we've got miniatures range, classes all over the world. Got quite a lot of stuff coming out over the next 18 months, which is really exciting. And then, obviously, good timing with this interview. But very soon we'll be launching YouTube and Patreon as well. So there's been lots going on. It's been really good fun. But yeah,
we should put those links in the description, shouldn't we?
Indeed.
Yeah, we'll check.
Yeah, definitely. Like, subscribe, share. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It'll be better.
Probably starting off then, obviously you've got 3 areas. You've got your painting, you've got your model range, and you've got your Patreon. Can we start off with your painting classes? What sort of things do you cover? What things have you done in the past? What have you got coming up in the future?
Yeah, I think the classes are the core of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we obviously we do the miniatures and online classes, but I think the foundation of the brand is face-to-face classes.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tried lots of different ones over the years. Some have become staple. So we have a foundation class, which we call brush skills, which is actually suitable for all levels. We're really proud of that class. And we do some wargaming classes, airbrushing tanks, painting infantry models. And then we have more specialist classes, which maybe we only run maybe once. So sometimes if we bring out a new miniature, we just run a masterclass on that miniature, and there'll be just one-off subjects we don't cover. And we're always evolving and changing it. And we always discuss between us what's the best out of this class and how can we evolve it. And yeah, but the core is we have these brush skills classes, we have airbrush classes, and then we have more difficult subjects, faces, cloaks. Just try to break down all the main things you need to know to paint miniatures, I guess.
Yeah, spot on. I think what Andy was saying as well about the actual classes being key. As I said, we talked for a long time before we'd started Cult of Paint. One of the reasons we wanted to keep classes going and doing them is you've got all these wonderful resources online, YouTube's, Patreons, all that sort of thing. You've got, honestly, we've had books for years, like those sorts of ones back there, like Hank Art, Angel's Infinity One. He did all these great books. But personally, I've always learned much better in a sort of classroom setting, I guess, or with a tutor there. And both me and Andy, all our jobs we've had or have nearly always been teaching in some capacity. And it's just things we enjoy. And one of the things we wanted to do with the classes was keep numbers quite low, keep them quite tight, in the sense that you're not coming to a class just to watch us paint. The idea is you're there will be a demo, and then we're on you the whole day, 2 days, 5 days, how long the classes are that we're running. So you've sort of always got that feedback, and that's partly because we enjoy doing that, but also because it felt like that was a legitimate space for something like that. And I think we see that with one of the reasons we have to keep evolving all the classes is we've got quite a faithful core of people who've been to all the classes, so they always want something new. We don't want to do a class for the sake of doing one. So that's been a challenge as well. I also think really it's still a relatively new industry. You've had people like Alfonso, Roman at Massive Voodoo, who've run classes for a long time as well. But sort of as an element of the business, or as a side to being a competition painter or this, I think the focus was this company was based on wanting to get people to come to painting classes, to educate themselves, to improve, enjoy it more. And then from that, you get all the other stuff, whether that's buying miniatures, whether that's going off and becoming a competition painter and winning loads of cool stuff, and we get to look at them and all of that. Or we're both gamers as well. So there's definitely quite a big element of pride when we can go to an event, or you see an event and you see people putting these awesome looking armies out, and knowing, not taking credit for it by any means, but knowing that you've had a part to play in a very cool army now being there to have a look at, because it's cool to see good miniatures,
especially on an army setting. Like I very rarely do I see it where two armies look spot on.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I think, it's another thing with the miniatures manufacturers, that it's getting better and better and better, right? Or the top end is. So it's always nice when you see a good paint job on a good miniature. But that was a big thing coming from Andy being very competition painting focused. It's been great because it's what you provide is someone literally got a paint set for Christmas, wants to learn how to paint a Space Marine or something. There's classes for that, but there's also classes for guys who go, right, I'm pretty good now, I want to go to a show, I want to try and compete. Master classes and things for them to do too. And the nice part is there's usually this sort of middle ground where a lot of people will come on both classes. It was about 2 years ago, we had one class where we literally had a Slayer sword winner sat next to a person who was painting the first miniatures they'd ever painted. It's great fun, right? Like to have those, but they were still learning new techniques to both of them.
Which is harder, do you reckon, to teach? A pro or a beginner?
Or just anyone who believes their own hype. Like it can be a pro or an amateur, whatever. Anyone who thinks they're the bollocks. Like, oh, is this all right or not?
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyone who thinks that they know it all, they're the worst. You don't really get.
It depends on what their approach is, because sometimes there's people I admire a lot, and they'll be like, "How'd you do this?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking?" But like you can discuss different ways of doing stuff, right? So, and that's really cool. I really love that.
I think what's interesting as well with these painting classes is we've discussed it on a cast in the past. You go back 10 years, or particularly when I was doing Games Workshop growing up, nobody shared any secrets. It's like they kept it to themselves, because if I give it to you, there was that competition to the point where you couldn't get any information. And now in the last 5 years, you've got different companies offering different painting classes. And I think it's really nice for that information to be shared and for the whole community to grow together, rather than people keeping information in order to stop.
100%. It's bizarre as well. There's this, all the info's there, right? You can go and get a book, and it's paint at the end of the day. Well, we've been painting miniatures for 100 years, something like that ish.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's probably around that, right? What was that H.G. Wells did? Didn't you?
Yeah.
No idea. Not us though.
You've had painting for forever, right? But this idea that the techniques are proprietary or some way. It's absolutely bizarre to me, you know. And you're right. What's really nice is when you have 10 different tutors that you can just go, oh right, I like their teaching style, so I'll go and learn it. You know, that rather than, well, I want to know the secret to this, or I've got to go here. And
I think that's the way to word it as a teacher as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's challenging, isn't it?
We always say in our classes, we like to do it in this way because of this, but you know, and there's merits for other ways and things like that.
Yeah, rather than locking yourself in or saying this is the only way to do it. I can't.
Like, you know, when you're teaching, I don't like to teach my way or the highway. Like I always say, I like doing it like this because of whatever. So the biggest example, I think, is I don't like wet blending, and I'll very rarely use it. So I won't teach that in my class because it's not my specialty. But when I'm teaching how my method of blending, I'll say I do it like this, and I think it's really important to mention these things. Like, you know, you can, if you get on with wet blending, and of course do it like that. But this is my method, and this is why I like it. I think that's just important.
One of the reasons we bring in the occasional sort of guest painter as well to run classes, to sometimes to fill that gap. Or sometimes where you have certain artists that are producing something pretty original, pretty special, but perhaps they aren't necessarily the most natural teachers, or you know, they don't necessarily have the setup to go. What's nice is to be in a position now to go to Joe whatever and say, look, we think you're wicked, we love your stuff. Do you have to coming and doing a masterclass? You know, we'll sort a lesson plan with you, we'll do this, that, and the other. But we think there's a group of people out there that would really love to spend the weekend just getting inside that person's head. Of course, you'll learn techniques and that side of it, but we sort of feel with the master classes, they're an awful lot about learning people's approaches, whereas our staple classes are very much the come and learn techniques, so that when you read in a book, glaze, or when you see on a tutorial layer, whatever, you understand what that process is. So now you can just see how different people use it to create their own thing.
I went to your brush skills class, and I would have to say, out of all the classes I've done, it's probably in my top 3. It's not obviously the sexiest class in the sense of, you know, non-metallic metal or this kind of stuff. But it's so important in terms of fundamentals. You look at the description for brush skills, and it doesn't really rock your world. But what I took away from that, though, I use all the time, and it's obvious, and it's so handy.
How many courses?
Well, actually, we keep, you know, we're always trying to come up with better ways to do that class, and it is important. And actually, like you said, you know, reword it, make it sexier, maybe.
We had a real dilemma, didn't we, with that one, because we thought it was going to be quite a important class. It's going to be a class that we genuinely thought people should do. And it was, how do you word it to get there? Because we didn't want to call it things like fundamental, foundation, basics, things like that, because it does put some people off. But there are people who are very, very accomplished painters in certain techniques, but who still couldn't blend 2 colours together with a paintbrush. You know, so how do you get them, you know, there? And again, it's that, and the only reason behind wanting them to do that is so they can then go and produce better looking models that you can ogle on Instagram or whatever, you know. It's pretty simple.
Why is brushstrokes important then, just for a beginner like me?
Why would a brushstroke be important? I always, you know, sometimes you're doing stuff and not thinking about it, and then you might be doing that wrong or right. But what we like to explain the different brushstrokes is so that knowledge is in someone's head, so actually they can go, why am I not getting this effect? And then maybe learn to self-analyze. And I think even if it's not natural at first, and you go, okay, he's telling me I've got to do my brushstroke like this, and you're having to be like, think about it, and it's clunky. Eventually it becomes a natural, and and then maybe you'll understand why you're painting better, and it's because you're paying attention to these things.
It's teaching, isn't it? It's the difference between showing someone literally, right, copy me, apply this red, this red, this red, and they leave going, I know exactly how to paint this red, this model, that's it. Whereas if you can help them understand why they're getting the results they're getting, hopefully that means, you know, they go away. And
we always say that at the start of the class, don't we? Because you can now online, you can see someone's work, and they'll tell you the colours they've used in the order. So this red, this red, this red, whatever. But what's hidden behind that is the dilution, the type of stroke, and the technique, and the time. And
why they've used those brands of paints as well.
So probably like break down the little bits, because that's what makes up the big thing. So it's not, you know, layer this, glaze this, but right, how do you move your brush on this layer and this, and it will change so much.
It's also hard though, isn't it? Like if you could study theory for a year and not paint, you're not gonna. I don't think you're going to be able to apply that instantly when you pick up a brush. Do you know what I mean? Like, I imagine the courses, or at least the courses I've done, you really need to. You take the things you learn and try and practice them for a week or two at least, just to try and embed it. Because, yeah, I know that I've wasted courses where I've gone,
100%.
did the stuff. Yeah.
We get people come on the same class multiple times, and sometimes it's because life's got in the way and they haven't been able to practice what they learn, and it's 6 months later and they've forgotten it all. Again, you know, or other times they've just been a bit naughty and not done it. Or the third case, which we've had quite a lot of in the last sort of 18 months, is people really like the weekends. Like you've ended up getting is all these gamers have had it for years, where they've had these tournaments and events and shit. They all get to go on the rip and have a wicked time. Whereas us, like basement dwelling paint nerds, like you might get to one event a year, you know, and talk to loads of people online but never see it. And you start getting this community going to the point where you're like, well, you know, John, you've done this class like 7 times now. Surely, like, how am I not getting through to you?
Yeah,
it's like, I don't really care. I just want to come on the piss on Saturday night.
Exactly.
It's not like that. It's more just enjoying spending that time painting with people. And that's, again, something we now do when we'll have the odd sort of old time or whatever you want to call it will be on a class, but they won't be on the class. They'll be in the venue painting something.
That's quite funny,
because it's just creating that community, and again, simply because it's something we want to exist and enjoy and be part of. So that's good fun, and certain gaming venues we're using. The last 12 months as well, we've been doing a lot more with specific clubs. So going out and doing bespoke classes for clubs, because again, there's been that, maybe there's 20 people at the club and 5 of them are really into painting, and they're going, well, you know, we've got this village hall on a thingy night as well, why don't we start just coming along and painting rather than...
Where is that based, just for the viewers?
Where's what based?
There's a lot
the painting shindig, the clubs.
Oh, it's all over the shop, all over the world. We've had Swedish clubs, British clubs.
I thought just local. Yeah. I'm glad I asked. So there you go.
But it will be something we'd wanted to do this summer, but unfortunately, I think what happened was to run a couple of times a year, just a pure painting weekend, which was no real classes or anything. It would literally just be, we will come along and we'll be there and everyone will just paint.
You tell the missus it's the class.
Nonsense.
Exactly.
Get away.
I think it is exciting, and it's something we've seen in perhaps other communities, like the Spaniards have always had this really strong, perhaps slightly more competition focused community, but you know, they've been the French guys had it, didn't they? Maybe 10 years or so like that, and it was something we wanted to foster, particularly over here. Just so happens that we're getting to do it all over the world as well.
Yeah,
sweet.
Spanish guys are on fire at the moment.
Yeah, fuck those guys, isn't it?
That's good, right? Now we just got to improve and go and you know, we want to be getting a plane load of Brits over to compete at events.
Well, it's like you said, we're slightly behind, but they've had that community going for longer, haven't they? They've had that Spanish team since, the late 1990s. So
and big names, right, as well. Like I'm nowhere near as involved. Sorry, I don't mean to dominate this conversation, but
that's right.
I'm not as invested in the competitive side of painting as Andy is. But
because you did competitive painting, Andy.
Yeah, just those casual swords in the background, just like in the corner, just like.
I'm not short on my screen.
Oh yeah, it's not.
I'm thinking maybe David Soper. That would be a Brit that springs to mind over the last. Historically, that's a great painter. But there aren't any other Brits jumping into my head. But there's a bunch of Spaniards, a bunch of dudes and stuff. So that's something that we need, those figureheads as well. I think.
Like focal points.
Collect around.
It's a shame. So here's a question. I'll go online.
I think Pete was trying to jump in with a question back then. I saw.
No.
Move.
I was going to say about the Spanish guys. It's still the same guys. So that's
Yeah.
crazy. That it's the same guys from 15 years ago. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's mental though, isn't it?
And there's the little kids, young blood, grown-ups now, and they're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like the newer artists in Spain. You trace them all back to the same tree, the same branch. They're all, and they've got big companies out there like Big Child and whatnot, who are fostering their own talent. I suppose we've got Games Workshop here.
Yeah, they're not really fostering. The painting is so different though.
But when that talent leaves, it doesn't seem to set up its own entity, does it? In terms of painting, anyway.
No, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the heavy metal team, it's always been quite international, hasn't it? It's not necessarily been. Quite a few of the European guys have been in the heavy metal.
Yeah, I know. Especially like after the.
Now, I think.
It's all Swedish.
Yeah, Swedish at the minute. Yeah.
But the thing is,
It's Sweden.
You're quite limited though when you go into Games Workshop. You have to paint to their style. I guess that's similar with every painting studio, but I think the beauty of any painter that's not tied to something is they can paint however they want. You're always trying to improve yourself because you painted that way last year and you did what you did, and this year you want to learn something new.
Oh, I see what you mean. So, like, as in, there's a very clear Spanish style and a French. Yeah, I see what you mean, and there isn't perhaps a
British one.
Yeah,
and kind of like. I think that it's actually really, really healthy for our community that you guys, okay, maybe not if you're going abroad, it's a bit like, producing something somewhere else, but if you're doing it for the UK and we build up that community over time, and it probably does take a long time to get, a load of people who are all of a sudden really talented, because you don't get talent overnight. I think the more and more we do that, the better we'll get.
It might sound a bit arrogant or ambitious or whatever, but it was a genuine large part of what we wanted to create with Cult of Paint was this British scene of and the idea that can't happen overnight. So if we want to do it, we need to commit and
contribute towards it at least,
and be there, for a length of time to build that.
Yeah. Because otherwise, I think you've got a good way there though. Because there's only at least I only know two companies or two people doing courses, yourself and Journeyman, and like the fact that I know you straight off the bat means that you are at least at the beginning of the journey succeeding in getting that. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that you're a household name for miniature painters, it says something. Yeah,
it's big. It's huge. A huge deal to us, because we were chatting before, weren't we, about like you don't go into this industry to
make money.
To make all the So it's getting recognition from other people within the industries a huge deal as well.
Probably moving on to your model range now.
So this was my question, Lionel. I had a great question. It was a segue, but we were talking, and basically, what do you find? It's a two-part question. Answer it. More rewarding and more difficult. Making models, designing, getting them sculpted, or the painting courses. Which so the challenges they offer separate challenges. Which is harder? Which is more rewarding?
Oh, it's so hard. I will say that I'm really passionate about the model range, and I've discovered that it's probably one of my favorite things to do with the hobby.
Got you.
Moving forward with Cult of Pain, I just can't wait to do more, and I love it. More so, maybe it's too hard to say which I prefer, but there's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone go, I've never blended this smooth, and now I can. It's the best. You've made something someone couldn't do, and now they can. That's the most rewarding. You've done a great job. Yeah. But what makes me really excited is coming up with miniatures, because that's what miniatures are, right? They're only here to look cool.
Yeah.
And, so if you come up with something that you and you made it, it's like, yeah.
Can you remember the first time you saw a model you made and someone else had painted it without you asking them to?
The first one, I mean...
Do you know what I mean?
First one,
yeah.
I can say that recently there's been a lot of versions of our bust set, and I will say that's our most successful miniature, not because of sales, because of how many people have painted it.
Right.
It's
a good feeling, though, isn't it?
It's so cool.
Like having a baby.
So 2 painters who are really fantastic, Jakob and David Colwell, painters, and they did a swap with our bust. And the 2 versions they've done are just so cool, and it's just
brilliant.
It was very. We did a class out in Australia last year. No, end of 2018.
Yeah.
And we ran Mark Masklans was running a masterclass with us. He did it on our first miniature, Anna 54mm. And that was very exciting after 2 days. It was 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was. 2 days, I can't remember. But seeing however many it was, 15 of these painted versions of that was pretty rad.
Yeah, it must be very cool.
But I think Andy's spot on with the Seth thing. That's when it got exciting, was when, because I don't go to as many shows as Andy does the things, and you know, it's exciting for him to see the models at these shows. But just on casual Instagram, seeing how many have started popping up now that have done many. And one of the best ones is when I come across one and they haven't tagged us. Like, obviously I've sent the thing to them, but I don't know who they are. You know, and then you see, hang on, what's that? Like, there's a really cool one we had this week, which someone's taken the Helpy robot, but he's used it as this Inquisition basis for this conversion thing for week 8. And that's when it's really cool, because suddenly it's just out there now, isn't it? So we don't have any control over them.
Cool.
You know, people can do what they want with them. That's exciting.
I think that's what's cool, is you've got no control over how people interpret your model. Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
you can't paint that colour.
Give me them. Yeah. So I think that's like, and you know, I suppose that's the whole thing of creativity, and the joy of it is you put it out there and you just sort of wait to see what comes back, because you've got no idea.
And that's why it's, you know, we've all got probably more than one unpainted miniature in a drawer somewhere.
I'm great.
You know,
exactly.
That's not what we wanted our models to be. They're not meant to be this collector's piece that you keep hermetically sealed, or you know, or just the next 100th Space Marine, you know, that you don't really care about. We want them to be painted.
By 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
One for keeping and one. Yeah. In fact, you should only sell them in 2s.
Yeah.
That's you know, I'm just thinking.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the model range and your plans for the future with that? Because I think that's
is this a planned one, or he's already out? No, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Okay.
Oh, it's on your screen. That's helping. Yeah. So I guess I don't know. You want to take this, Andy, mate? I feel like I'm waffling.
So the miniature range, basically, you have to stop me. I've been talking about this for a long time, but
right.
The moment we have a sci-fi range of miniatures, and we really wanted to bridge a gap between people who only paint Games Workshop or have yet to try other brands, and then the larger scale stuff. And we made, I'm going to say, a controversial decision to do a less popular scale right now, which is 54 or 60 mil, a big 54. And we really wanted to do that because we felt if someone's painting a Games Workshop figure and they want to try something that isn't, perhaps 75 is a little intimidating because they are big.
Yeah.
And we thought, let's do a scale in between, and then people will see it's not much of a jump up. And in actual fact, a lot of people paint the Games Workshop Primark models, and they're 54 mil scale anyway.
Yeah, some of their newer plastic stuff is getting there.
So we wanted to do that was one thing. We looked at all the scales and we thought no one's doing it, but we really like it, so let's just do it. So that's what we wanted to do, this range of 54.
Helps with the too.
And we were really lucky to find an amazing concept artist called Max Fitzgerald. And even though we had clear ideas of the characters, he was able to make the concept sketches and add lots of little quirks and aesthetics that we think make the range. I think it's a sci-fi range, but I'd call it low tech and they've got this kind of medieval armor style, and that's mostly from Max, really.
I suppose the question I ask, when you go through this process, and obviously I know Jamie's gone through the process as well with something he's doing, how much of the model is you? Because obviously you get a concept artist,
right?
You get maybe a digital sculptor, you get all these different chefs involved.
Yeah.
At the end of it, and obviously you hire these people because you've got to lean on their skills. So you get the concept artist because he's good at art. How much of that model at the end is you?
A lot,
would you say?
Yeah. A lot. Basically, we're really picky. Like we were awful clients, but we're really picky, and we didn't mind waiting and paying for in our opinion, the best people to translate what we wanted. One of the things that across the company, whether it's the classes, the miniatures, the other things we've got coming up, me and Andy complement each other in the sense of we have a lot of shared sort of enthusiasm, but there are parts of things that we're more passionate about. So when it comes to say the initial concept, we'll chat and we'll say, right, it's going to be sci-fi, or it's that. Then I might go and do a storyboard or whatever breakdown of their character, and then we find the artist. Right, we like their style. That's kind of what's going on up here, right? Let's see what they can do. Then work with them for a little bit, get a few sketches back, then we'll get together again and get right. Don't like that, do like that, take it this way, take it this way. And then we'll move into the sculpting side of things. And that might be where I then take slightly more of a step back and Andy takes slightly more of a step forward. Because, I can say it because he doesn't have to. He's one of the best miniatures painters out there at the minute. There's not many people winning more things than he is. He knows what makes a good miniature to paint, to physically put the paint on, and then to use perhaps as a competition piece. So he will be able to bring that knowledge to the sculpt side of it. So I think you can see as well just how close the models mirror the concept art. It's challenging, and that's why our projects perhaps take a longer time to come to fruition than other people's. But it's a very rewarding thing at the end of it to basically not have regrets about it, to just be very proud of, to be able to say, yes, I've created this model. No, I haven't drawn it. No, I haven't still in CAD. No, I haven't cast it, whatever, but me and Andy have created them. And you know, and Andy's right to mention Max as well. Max has had a huge impact on it. We wanted to use very prominent industry sort of specialists in the process because we want the best we can get. But we also wanted, wherever possible, to try and perhaps bring other people through with us. You know, we were well known for teaching, but we were nobody when it came to miniatures production, right? And Max had done some art. I'd followed Max for a while. He'd done some cool art for an old Warhammer fan project. And it was literally, I'll just shoot him a Twitter message, just say if you're interested. And you just got that immediate, you know, he's a bit mad. And you're like, yes, you're the one. Like, we want to work with you because we feed you enough of this. You'll filter it through here, and you'll produce what I suspect we'll both go, oh, that's really cool.
I think Max for me stops a miniature design from being vanilla. You'll not get a cliche looking figure like with Max. So me and Henry have like a list of really clear things we want this figure to have, right? You know, it's got this haircut, it's got this weapon, it's this stance, these real clear list of attributes. So that's our vision. But then Max will put a little twist on it that makes it unique. So he'll put these, you know, these pointy toes on the armor, and we're like,
yeah.
So we're so clear in the characters we create. We don't just go make a female. We list all these stuff. We have photos. But working with someone like Max, it just brings out the best in those ideas, I think. And every time he sends us a new concept, it's just so exciting. Especially now we've done quite a few miniatures, and we've seen how they translate and how well they translate.
And he's a lot more experienced now, isn't he? Like, he's working with a lot of other companies as well. Now, we've had some artists work with us who've been like bought up and handcuffed to other companies, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was going to say.
I hope that answers that sort of question. I think you can retain as much control as you're willing to, if you're willing to sacrifice time, money, whatever. You know,
just your soul.
But it was, you know, like we had to be proud of what came out. The idea wasn't to simply produce some 54mm generic sci-fi.
It goes in line with your sort of MO on your painting courses as well, isn't it? Like, you're not really doing it just for money and accolades. It's you want to create something proud of.
Creative.
I love figures, and I want to paint figures. So we're making ones that I want to do, like really want to paint.
Yeah.
So you've got a mixture of busts and figures at the moment. Do you plan to continue both routes, or are you going to focus more on the 54mm?
Well,
or another range, for example.
We've loved what we've done with the sci-fi range, and we've talked about what we did well and what we didn't do as well. And I think that we're going to be turning up the miniature, us as a miniature producer, up to 11. And our next project, which we're not going to reveal too much yet in this interview, but it is going to be a fantasy range, and it is going to be an entire range in one hit.
Okay.
And it's a lot.
The range thing is a good. We didn't really want things to be one-offs. We wanted to create a setting and a cohesiveness to the release. And in time that will get communicated more and in different ways as well. But if there are more sci-fi models in the future, they will look right for that range. The first sci-fi range is all Anna's, the main girl's crew on her ship.
Right.
the next one may be another ship's crew. It might be some more interesting characters that they come across and stuff. But it will always be this set because there's too much work gone into creating that
To leave it.
to not explore it further. And we've taken exactly that same approach with the fantasy range that Andy mentioned.
I'm particularly interested in the fantasy range because for me, the sci-fi range, and obviously I'm not just saying this because you're on the cast, I did think it before, I think it's quite unique in the sense that there are certain tropes. If you go to other companies that are producing sci-fi stuff, cyberpunk is massive at the moment. There's a lot of tropes there that you could have borrowed from, but the sci-fi range is very unique. It's very alternative. I mean, it could belong in a Dune universe or John Carter from Mars.
That was on the
John Carter from Mars, that sort of thing, which I think a lot of people have shied away from, or probably not thought of. So you kind of have that market. However, the fantasy market is very, very cluttered at the minute. It's very saturated. So I'll be interested to see how you bring a unique take, if you can bring a unique take to that range. I think that's the challenge you've got.
Yeah, I think that uniqueness is an interesting way to look at it. With the sci-fi ranges, it's niche, and we knew that. Like, we're going to have largely female characters, not hypersexualized in any way. As I say, not cyberpunk, none of this. It's not a GW model, so it's already your window of or where your potential. Again, the nice thing is you can put that model down, and we know that reflects the brand and the company. So I think that is what you'll see with the fantasy stuff. Will it be unique? Well, as unique as you said, as it can be in a massively saturated genre. But will you look at it and go, that's a colour paint miniature? I think you will.
No, that's quite exciting.
Is it the same? So
it's to see more of that when you get to that point. That's for sure.
There are in the new range, there are busts and figures.
Okay. And
the busts will be of the figures. So there's not a model that's only a bust. It's available in both. And I think we'll always do both because we love both, and it comes back to what we were saying earlier, that we don't like to only like one thing. We like Games Workshop, not Games Workshop, army painting, competition painting.
Yeah,
I mean, both of us individually and between us, we like so much, and me personally, from what I want to paint, it's never only bust, it's never only 28 mil. I love doing something different, all the time. And even though the range is going to be mostly 54, we'll always do bust because we like them a lot. So,
do you have flexibility with the 3D printing, sculpting to be able to do that? Is that why it's a bit easier to get the bust and the figure?
Doesn't hugely. That wasn't an impact on what we decided to do. Of course, it's as a process for the sculptor. I mean, CAD has changed everything. They're able to take so many more chances now. Because you can just Control Z or whatever, and go back to where they were. But I think a good sculptor's a good sculptor. Like there's plenty of people that are doing the digital version of throwing putty or something.
And we can say that it's a new range is new sculptors as well.
Interesting.
Raoul did sculpt our range, and Chris Clayton.
Chris.
Nice.
But there's new range. There's 3 new sculptors, and we're actually blown away by some of them. So you don't know what they're going to do.
Doesn't it? Aren't you just like? I don't know if I can use this now. I can't use this phrase. Aren't you super excited? Yeah.
Such a bad one. I used it earlier.
It's the worst. Like they're good, and you're sitting on them. It must be quite hard to have a crap load of models.
Yeah.
And just not want to just be like, look, guys, look at how bloody good we are. Not we are. The range we've got is.
Yep.
That
But,
would,
it's not that far away now, and we're at the point where the box arts are going to be getting.
nice. Yeah.
We got the concepts, and we're like, oh my god, these drawings are amazing. Then we see the sculpts. Oh, the sculpts are amazing. And then it's like, finally, we're at the point where we're going to see the box arts. And the other thing that's exciting is previously I did all the box arts, but we've got the opportunity now that there's a lot of people doing box arts, and there's some of my favourite painters doing them. So
and we're in a position to approach them now.
Yeah.
We weren't, because, as I said, we were well known and well renowned for paint, for tuition, but we were nobodies for miniatures production. That's getting better. But to give it some perspective, like this project that should be launched this year, as long as who knows what's going on with everything, started in autumn 2018.
Oh, blimey. It's a long time to not let the cat out of the bag as well.
Yeah. Oh, we do. Right? If you come on our classes, we'll show you.
Yeah, okay. I'd definitely leak that by mistake. Do you know what I mean? Like, leak it. Yeah. My phone got hacked.
Should we move on to the next big thing that you guys are doing now, which is your Patreon?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Can we talk about your Patreon? So, dates, what it's going to include. If you can talk about tiers, what sort of stuff you've got coming.
So we always wanted to do a YouTube, maybe a Patreon. We knew we wanted to do something, and after a lot of long drives to classes, we managed to hash out what we want to do. And actually, long story short, we decided to do a simultaneous launch of a YouTube channel and a Patreon channel. And we were always going to do it anyway. But actually, with the lockdown situation, for me, having a full-time job, I've actually been able to accelerate the process. So it was always going to happen, but it's allowed us to do it, like I said, simultaneously. And I think a lot better, being able to learn new skills. But with the YouTube is going to be, we looked at a lot of YouTube channels, and we just decided we wanted them to be quite snappy videos. So the YouTube, rather than really kind of lengthy, in-depth stuff, and not in a negative way, we wanted to do some really nice, quick tips.
Yeah.
So there's not long intros to the video. It dives straight in. You get the logo, and then we're painting.
The legs wouldn't go numb if you were watching this, where apparently most people watch YouTube.
On their legs.
Oh, right. Okay, I just got that.
But yeah, so quickly moving on. I'm really happy with how that's come out, and there's going to be just loads of cool techniques we put on YouTube, and it will allow us to be quite fresh. And if there's a brand new miniature that comes out, we want to get it on YouTube and do fun stuff with it, and do different ways of doing it. And then the Patreon will sit very nicely alongside that, and with the classes, actually, because they're all going to fulfill different purposes.
Certainly the aim was not to replace classes at all.
I think that's a risk, isn't it, where you cannibalise your audience to a certain degree, where people sign up to your Patreon, but then don't get in the car and drive to your classes anymore.
I think I've talked about this with Henry. The thing about Patreon and YouTube is actually, I think it allows you to do things that you couldn't do at class. So, for example, the first tutorial that I'm going to put on YouTube is painting black armor for Sisters of Battle. And I'll probably never do a class that's painting black. We'll do the foundation, we'll do non-metallic metal, but something so specific like that on this miniature, we just won't do. And it allows you, I think, to be indulgent and do really specific things.
It does. It circles back around as well to what we said at the very start of the interview, that all of this information's out there, like how to paint black. Everything's out there. What people are paying for and are getting on a class is our presentation and teaching style, and for feedback and whatever, and that won't change. You know, you could show people our class like teaching notes, and it would mean nothing, but it's still the information. So it was, you're right, Lauren, like it was a really nerve-wracking thing to go, right, how can we not alienate anybody? How can we not make people feel shortchanged? You know, I paid X to go on this class, and now that video's up and whatever. And it's just took us a bit of time, but we're pretty happy with how that will sit now.
You've also,
you know,
it's more of it's just another resource.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a few years ago, I did a big Ultramarine army for Horus Heresy, and quite frequently I got asked, what paints did you use? And I'd just say, but it's not, you know, just listing the paints isn't that helpful.
No.
What I've done is, it's a very short video, it's concise. It's not telling you how to airbrush. It's not telling you how to do all these skills. But what it is it's got, this is my army, these are the paints I used, and this is the order I did them. So this color and this color, and it shows you. So, like, you know, if you just get asked those questions, you've got that to go to. And also, I think there's a lot of people out there that perhaps have the knowledge, right? And maybe you just want to go and grab the recipe. So we want to do some long videos as well. We've got miniatures start to finish, but we've also got these quick ones where it's like a recipe guide. So people might go, oh, what's a good color for Dark Angels? And that's a recipe guide. This green, this green, this green. Look, it's awesome. And it's quick. It's a 2-minute video, and we haven't seen loads of that out there. So we're hoping we can maybe.
I do think it's a good idea, because actually, I think that when I go to classes, I kind of get a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that gets dumped inside me, like in such a short period. You weren't meant to acknowledge that; it was just meant to be implied. But and now I like that idea because I can digest it. I think what I sometimes struggle with is having all that information and not really knowing the basic steps. So I get overwhelmed and then I just go completely wrong. Whereas if you said use this, use this, use this, you're not telling me how. I still explore how myself, but I know that I'm on the right sort of path. So I could get it wrong 10 times, but eventually I know I don't have to worry about, is this the right way? I just focus on the actual execution. So I do really like that idea, to be fair.
Yeah, we want it to be fun and easy.
There's less pressure as well.
And we've not come up with a lot of this in a vacuum. You know, we talk to and utilise people that have come on our classes a lot. Some of them have become really good friends. Some of them have actually become quite integral parts of our business. But you know, there's that aftercare, whatever you want to call it, or community that we've built through the classes. We do use it to better things, to improve what we're doing. So, you know, we talk to a lot of those guys and girls about, how would you feel if you did this? How would you feel about that? You know, and that's why I'm really confident that I almost want it to feel like, oh, why didn't we have these 3 things from the very beginning?
It does make sense.
You know, there's only, I think, way I feel about Cult of Paint as a whole is we've got a huge list of stuff we're going to do. Like, I think we're in the infancy, really.
Yeah.
But there's only so many things you can chip away at. You know, we've worked 2 years on the fantasy range that'll come out. We've done a lot of classes and they always evolve. We're doing these videos now online, and we don't know where that'll take us because you know, we've actually learned a lot of skills on how to make videos, and that's going to get way better. Like, we're conscious of that. We always want to be better at what we do. So it's just exciting, and I actually feel that doing the YouTube will help with the classes, because I hope it makes people comfortable with us, see that we explain things clearly, and then maybe, you know, for example, when I go to Adepticon in America, maybe they haven't heard of us because we're British, but maybe they've seen the YouTube. I want to do a class with those guys. And it's always a different experience anyway. So I don't feel any of the 3 things take away from each other. I think they all help. And the Patreon, certainly for me, allows me to be indulgent, because I'm just going to paint my miniatures and I'm going to show you every little step. And I've been quite candid how I've written some of them. So, when I'm painting a miniature, I'll make huge mistakes, and I'll just write about them and why. So sometimes I did these steps. This was a waste of time because of this, and I hope people like that. Whereas the YouTube's a bit more cut and clear.
Yeah,
paint this.
I'm excited about people's reaction to the Patreon, because again, I think it should draw on that real wide range of interest that we both have. But also, exactly as Andy said, then that indulgency to just pick apart a project and go, well, you clearly give a shit about it, otherwise you wouldn't have liked this Patreon. So we're going in, and really being able to rip it apart.
Can we talk about tiers and prices? Because this won't get aired until after your Patreon goes live. Your Patreon goes live.
How about we talk about the ideas behind?
Okay.
Tiers?
Okay.
Say that there's not very many levels.
There's not, and we've no intentions of there being.
There's just a couple levels.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to have a separate level for PDFs and videos. You're just gonna pay the price and you get the lot. And then the only other thing is going to have like the more one-to-one stuff. So if you want the monthly feedback, we're going to offer that. But really, just a couple levels. But we thought about it, and we want one price to access the lot.
Okay.
Especially since we thought some months it might only be videos, sometimes it might only be PDFs. Because what I've learned from recording and trying to do tutorials is sometimes a PDF's more suitable, and sometimes video is. So have a separate tier for PDFs or videos, it will be hard to find the balance. And I think certainly for when I'm doing a competition project that I know I'm entering, actually a PDF is better, because I'm sitting for ages doing something and it's such a small detail, you're never seeing it on the video. So actually,
well, also you probably got it here, right?
Video
camera, trying to get that camera there's not going to happen.
And then the video is really good for like actual technique, like this is how I'm moving. But then when you're just showing steps, it's nicer to see the photos. So and we'll take the feedback as well, actually. It's really interesting for us to see, what do people want to see, and I think we'll try and be adaptable to that.
Are you worried when you release everything? Obviously, everyone's going to jump up in skill instantly. Are you guys worried?
That's how it works.
They watch it once, got the knowledge. Are you I always find the idea intriguing, because these are your guys' jobs, but you're just so willing to just give away everything.
I've got an opinion.
It's not ours either, though, right?
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
But I think the people that are going to get really good are the people that put the hours in.
Yeah.
I know, because I've been there, and those people would get there anyway, probably.
Yeah, just in a slightly slower.
I got better from like just being super dedicated, and you can see those people online. Like, he's paying $2 this week. What? Like these are the people that are always going to get good. You're just giving them tuition and help. You're just maybe making the journey a little faster.
And you're becoming part of the journey with them, which is actually quite nice.
I think the other thing about it as well, it kind of shortchanges, because it assumes that there's a ceiling, and there isn't. The teachers should be improving as much as the students, so the teachers should always stay ahead. Like I said, we've interviewed Itami, we're looking at army stuff as well. They're pushing the boundaries with stuff that hasn't been, well, it's been used in Canvas, but it hasn't been used on model art. So I think that assumes as well that the teachers have reached their ceiling and they can't improve anymore. And you guys should be breaking boundaries as well.
I think being slightly less diplomatic as well. I can't stand all that gatekeeping bullshit that there is around painting.
It's just boring, isn't it?
These no one owns it. Even as you were saying then, Lionel, people bringing new techniques to miniatures painting. They've not pulled them out their arse. They're taking it from somewhere, right? Yeah. And if that person's got real integrity, they'll probably even discuss where they've been inspired, who they've been inspired by, or done whatever. So it's something which is something we've never really. It's never been a thing, right, for me and Andy. This idea of super secret, or we don't want that person to be better. You know,
Put hours in. If you can
more
tell
cool models to look at.
they've got to put hours.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah,
if they put the hours in to get that good, they deserve it.
Deserve it, yeah.
If they say what colours you use, have them all. We'll tell you anything. And if
That's
they
an interesting one, isn't it?
do something better than you with those colours, that's cool.
Unless they're a
There's
dick.
a way to ask though, like that's, and I know text is never the best way to communicate, is it? But because you don't get tone and all that, but there are ways to ask us how we've done something where we will literally go PM you and go, you got Skype? Yeah, all right, let's jump on Skype and we'll chat about it. And it could be exactly the same bit of information that someone else has asked in a very different way. And you're like, fuck you, buddy. Like, you know, you're not replying to that one.
That sense of that.
And it's really obvious, though, isn't it? Come on. Like,
Yeah. To be fair, I asked you, Andy, on Facebook. You won't remember because it was a throw thing. Like he's a Space Marine bloke, NMM, like all over. You did him yellow. He's a I don't know what the name is. Russ, maybe Lemon Russ.
What, yellow?
Lemon Russ, I think. Is that
Lemon Russ? Oh my god, I don't know about Space Marines, do I?
Did he have well, they both got purple cloaks. Did he have a chain cord like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I was like, how did you do your thing? Yeah. And then you put up a picture of the paints, and I was like, brilliant, thanks, mate. Tried the paints out, couldn't get anywhere. It just looked like a pile of crap. Say again?
Did I give you the paint list?
Yeah, you did. You sent me a picture of.
At least he responded.
No, totally, yeah.
It sounds like people aren't even getting responses.
It wasn't an insult.
it would be like a very small amount.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I was just basically
you had the paint list, but you didn't get the look you wanted.
No, yeah. This isn't me complaining either. This is me pointing out that you've got skills, because even knowing what paints you used, right? And I looked at the photo and I was like, how the hell has he done that? Because I had the paints in front of me. I had the model, and normally when I paint, like I always think I can copy better than I can ever come up with something myself. But
confident mimicking and stuff.
Yeah, I have no art skill, but I can copy. And honestly, I was like, this is basically bollocks. Like, I thought he's lying just to have me on, send me down. Yeah, exactly.
We get that quite a lot, don't we? Like, people will, it's the classic recipe, or what colours you use, question mark. And you're like, we'll tell them there's like 2 colours, and they're like, nah, bullshit, whatever. Whatever. And you're like, it's just 2 paints. Like,
no, you did a good job.
Right? Everyone's got this notion that it has to be this incredibly complicated thing all the time, right?
That was before I knew that you could mix colours. I didn't know you could do that. So, slight joke there. But I didn't know you could mix to the level that I'm trying to do now. Anyway,
no, it's a really good point about the just giving the information and then what the hell do you actually do with it? How do people use it? And it was something at the very beginning when we started the company, was what do we want to get from the classes? It's that understanding, it's that people leave with a slightly more in-depth understanding of what they're physically doing. And I guess the peak of that, or the pinnacle of that, is when you can look at a really good model, or not even a really good model, just a model you like something about, and be able to analyze it and break it down and go, like, it was probably these techniques, right? So what paints are good for these techniques are these. How can I improve this to do that? And that's what the teaching is, right? That's where you try and go, how it's all written in books. Why has that person read that and understood it? Okay, they don't like that side of it. So how do we put it to them where that makes sense? I remember getting back in the hobby, going on Cool Mini or Not, about, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, something like that. And I couldn't understand how that was a painted model. You know, I literally couldn't perceive how it looked like that.
But you have to remember that when people ask you stuff, because when you're so involved in the world, like all of us are, because we love miniatures, that's why we're doing this. You forget there's people that might be new and they literally don't know the simplest thing, and you always have to remind yourself.
You
Because
started
I
there.
was a kid and I saw a model and I'm like, that's impossible. And now I don't see anything that I think is impossible. But you just got to remind yourself that there's all these people in that position. I think that's fundamental to a class.
Yeah,
Don't assume anything.
I've got a really good challenge for you guys, right? Paint a model badly. I bet that's hard to do.
How long do you have?
Yeah.
Emotional post the other day.
I'd like to see that.
I was upset about how badly I painted that I just wanted some time off.
All right, a better way of saying it: paint a model how you painted in your first year of painting.
I'd have to use enamel on a very small.
No, okay. The first time you used acrylic paint.
Yeah.
73 coats of Dark Angels green.
Yeah, that is still one of my favourite colours. Dark Angels green, midnight blue. Bloody love those. Snakebite leather, bleach bone. It's bloody magical, that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, if we just obviously round out the front show, there's the aftermath, which is kind of whatever James is calling it, which will be another show which will be coming. Is there any other final questions in relation to the products that Carlton Paint produce that we can talk about? I think we covered everything.
I mean, I guess the airbrush, I suppose, is the only thing we haven't chatted about. That's something that a really quite significant thing that happened very early on in our existence. But we were approached by Harder and Steenbeck about them wanting to get into the miniatures market, essentially. And we just ended up doing this super cool project with, thankfully, the manufacturers of the brushes we used, so we didn't have to do too much bullshit. And
maintain integrity.
It's very, very that's been hard, man. We've lost a lot of money through saying no to stuff.
Yeah,
we don't want to do it. But it's good, man. It means 90% of the time we can be super chill, with to talk about things because we're very happy.
Yeah.
But the airbrushes. We've got some signature series airbrushes which have parts on them designed by us. We use them in all of our painting. It was an amazing class in early last year. Went on, and I think maybe there was 12, 13 people on it, and at least 10 of them had our airbrushes.
Oh,
wow.
It was amazing, and it's a bit like that, talking about seeing your models.
Because I was aware it was a Kickstarter, so it's still available now, those airbrushes.
100%. So it was kickstarted simply that the R&D guy, whoever it was at Harder and Steenbeck, who wanted to do this project, was told by his bosses, yes, you can do it, but you have to sell a minimum of this to do it because of the machine. And that's the only reason it got kickstarted. And thankfully, it went a lot better than they'd anticipated. And they still sell. Yeah, it's a great seller. It's one of the best sellers on that website.
Do you get
the only difference is you don't get the little cap with the logo on it. Other than that, the brushes that is a bit more expensive because you always save money on Kickstarters. But
not much left for you guys to do, is there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, big time, mate.
Oh, really?
It's really the next 3 months is going to be wicked. Yeah.
Sure.
What was that?
We can't talk about those projects yet.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming on, guys. We'll just round out the front show. Obviously, there'll be another show afterwards.
Call it the back end show.
Sorry?
I don't want to make it again. I said you can call it the back end show. But it's to carry on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more of a programming code. That was a programming joke, not about front end. But don't worry.
Pete, we need the mute button on our end, not his end. We need to control it our end.
You edit it, don't you?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, but
not well.
That time. The amount of bleeps and stuff I have to put in.
You're going to have to bleep Henry more than...
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
I'm ending it now. I'm ending the show now. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you very much for coming.
Please come on again once you do finally release your fantasy range, and
Love
you got some more details and you can show us some stuff. That would be great.
We promise.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Say bye, Jamie.
Me or them?
No, you.
Because it sounded like you were telling them to say bye, Jamie. See you later, guys. See you later.